You know what? Okay. I was actually gonna ask you about those because, that's hilarious you're mentioning because I follow Canadian Party Life as well, and they were mentioning about St. Paddy's Day this next weekend,
17th
and 18th, and they had a whole bunch of lists of universities, and I say that like my top 5 in Ontario is.
This is
gonna be controversial. It's gonna be controversial. Controversial.
Subscribe to Unmastered.
Unmastered is on the rise. Up to 1 million soon. Subscribe to Unmastered Podcast. It's the best podcast in the fucking world.
This is the Unmastered Podcast.
All right, guys, we're back on Unmastered Podcast, episode 22, 23-ish. We're here and we have a guest with us today. So for today's episode of the Unmastered Podcast, our guest is a talented photographer, videographer, content creator, and editor. He's been working on his craft for over a decade, capturing moments from some of the biggest creators, musicians, and athletes around while continuing to build his brand. From working with Nelk Boys to snapping pics of Drake and Scotty Barnes, everyone please welcome Jason Pagaduan, aka 90 or 905 Shooter.
Thank you.
Welcome, buddy.
Oh yeah, you know what? You actually hit it really good. Some people don't get my last name.
I've been practicing.
on the first try. Yeah.
That's good.
That's good. That's
That was
good.
dope. But yeah, so how you been, man?
Good. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's good to be with local creators, local podcasts, because you want to support the other creators out there, and you don't want to be in competition because I don't think of it as competition. But other than that though, like it's just been really great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we've been trying to get 90 for a while now, and we ended up meeting him at the Rink of Dreams in person, which that event was crazy. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been doing like stuff like that. You were at the Canadian Classic the year before. So yeah, you talk about a bit about that too. Like how was your experience there, like getting to shoot with Alex, and how did you guys meet in general?
Yeah, so it was, I believe it was, it's long ago, before 2021's winter. So it was before December 2021. That's when he had the first Winter Classic. I met him a couple months prior through a mutual friend that actually just randomly hit him up on Instagram because he saw his Rink of Dreams backyard. He saw the rink in his backyard and he hit him up. And then my buddy introduced me to Alex. So that's how I got in contact with Alex. I saw his videos through BlogTO and Streets of Toronto and a bunch of other different blogs that were showcasing it. And then I hit up Alex. He said, I'm doing this Winter Classic 2021 during COVID. So it's a very tough time where there was like probably 50 or less people there. Very quiet, but it was such a fun experience to do that. And then I got to do some skating videos with him on his rink, and he's such a great guy. So shout out to Alex. I know you guys have had him on his podcast before.
Shout out to Alex.
Yeah. And then meeting you guys, it's actually like I think 5 months maybe in the making since you guys I think you guys hit me up. Something around the Hoco time. So that was probably 7 months ago.
Oh shit, yeah.
And then the reason why it took so long to do this was because I wanted to come onto a podcast where current events happen, where it's like something we could talk about that like not just for the audience, but for myself, where like I just want to go into a podcast and finding conversations right off the top of my head or having to carry something without actually being excited to talk about.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So we did some research. I think your first ever post was like back in 2014. So how long have you been doing this whole kind of photography for?
Yeah.
When did you decide? Why did you decide to pick up a camera?
Yeah, April of 2014. First photo was at Albion Falls, Hamilton. I can never forget this. Yeah. And I decided to pick up a camera just because whenever I went to travel with my family, whether it be in Ontario or just anywhere we went, the idea of taking a photo and knowing that it's going to last forever and have that as a memory that no one else could take that away from you, it just grew interest, right? And I wasn't old enough to like actually own a camera, so I borrowed my parents' camera or use a phone, just whatever device I could to just take a photo. And that was kind of what sparked the interest. It was a hobby for the first couple of years. I would say for about 2 years, it was just a hobby. I would go out and shoot whatever and anything that made me interested just to find a niche. And then that's obviously when I started doing it full time, not even full time, but probably part time in 2016 when I fully invested in it. Yeah.
That's good. And then I guess you had family members that were doing it beforehand, so it kind of inspired you a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a lot of photographers back in the day from 2014 to about 2017. That window of people really, really going out and shooting street photography, portraits, and candids of the areas of Toronto. And then it grew from that to more people doing like rooftopping and people doing like a bunch of insane like things where they got themselves arrested for it. And it's when you're like a younger person and you kind of see this, you want to kind of get yourself into that niche because you want to feel like you're connected with other photographers. And then that kind of got me into that, and then transitioned to portraits, transitioned to now music, because now during the 2018-19 years, that's when people started just going to concerts and taking portraits of the artists. And then it turned into sports photography, became so much bigger after like the Raptors won or even before that. So it was very like transitional. And one specific time was in, I think it was September of 2015 or November, when I first met this group called Street Dreams Magazine. And they were a magazine based in New York where they just published magazines with other photographers from Instagram. They used their photos and they put them in magazines, and they highlighted 6 artists, 3 female and 3 male, and kind of did a whole biography about them. And so that's what kind of got myself really interested in the photography community and really into photography. And that's what like made me more inspired to meet more photographers and then learn from them just through YouTube and just through experience. Yeah.
You're bringing me back, man, with that all the different trends of photography on Instagram. You had like the fairy lights. People were doing that, like the Brandon and Woolful photography at one point.
Yeah.
That was like crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, like there are some niches or some specific types of photography that could take you so much further than what you expected it to be and could last longer. For example, there was this one photographer, her name is Miss Haddon. She's from Manhattan, and she does aerial photography. And those are the things where it's like, you could do that in any city, any country in the world, and each photo is going to look different than the last. With roof photography or like roof-topping, for example, in Toronto, there's so much rooftops you could hit where you get the same angle or different angles, or CN Tower or not.
Oh yeah, there's the one on the with the 2 buildings in between. Where is that?
Oh, that's at Bay and King. Yeah,
everyone has that one.
The classic.
I have it.
the classic Bay and King area with the 2. I know what you're talking about. You have the 2 TD buildings with the CN Tower in the middle, and that was the most classic spot everyone went to. The problem now is that because Toronto is expanding, they built a building right in front of the CN Tower, so it's completely blocked.
Damn.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Hey, well now we got it.
Yeah,
now.
if
No
you
one else
got
can
that
get it.
photo, you have that. Now, if you go back to Bay and King at that TD Plaza, you just see a building in front of it.
Yeah.
And that was like the most disappointing, as a street photographer, that was probably the most disappointing and heartbreaking moment when you realize that iconic shot is no longer there. You got to find a different spot in Toronto. And you're so limited to finding good specific areas to hit.
Yep.
Right? And so that kind of leads into like the whole vlogging aspect of like YouTube that I did for the past 2 years with COVID happening, where everyone was locked in, everyone was staying at home. And for me, I wanted to take advantage of that. I wanted to go at a time when no one was around, where even though you're limited to things that you could do, explore different areas of Toronto where you're not disturbed. People are not interrupting you. It's no sirens, no cars, no like street life, right? And when I went, it literally felt like a movie where it's completely empty. And I remembered seeing this I think this was in the fall of 2020. there was a few photographers. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a few photographers that actually took photos of the streets of Toronto completely empty during the peak of COVID. And I said to myself,
I think I did see that. I don't know who the photographers were, but I do remember seeing.
There was a few that actually
really, like, just empty. Like.
Yeah, they took that risk. And not saying that I want another pandemic, because nobody wants another pandemic. Although, if there was a time where the streets were completely empty, I would take full advantage. Probably you too. I'm sure you would take a full advantage of just going to those areas and just taking as much photos and content.
You're never gonna get that.
No, no. And Young and Dundas, I remember that was the first time I ever seen that completely dead.
Yeah, that was crazy back then.
Yeah,
it was
like, I don't know about you guys, but like, how was your experience in terms of like having to go outside or like going to the city where like less traffic too?
It makes it like convenient if you have to travel down there, but I remember it was like kind of like traumatic in a way. I remember like there was nothing going on, and I was like, what's going on? Did the like world end or something?
No,
it's a little bit like it psychologically like messes up.
It was literally like a movie, right?
Yeah,
because like you only see in movies like, what was it? I Am Legend, for example.
Yeah, I was just thinking that,
maybe that, or even like The Day After Tomorrow. Like, even though it's not real with the snowstorm, but like just the feeling of being alone and being with a certain amount of people, and then having to and not knowing if you're gonna live the next day or the next night, because it's all filmed that night. Yeah. Right. So it's like traumatic for some people.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, it touches a lot in terms of mental health and a lot of suicide and a lot of anxiety that grew on people without them realizing it existed to them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mental health definitely worsened for a lot of people during that time, right? Because you're stuck in your house. You know, I think it allowed for a lot more creativity.
Yes.
But it also allowed for a lot more mental health problems.
Yeah.
It kind of went hand in hand. Like, I think we may potentially see the most creativity, you know, coming from that time, you know, than ever before, right?
Yeah.
You know, people just stuck in their house, picking up a new hobby, picking up a new thing, whether it be photography, music, you know, vlogging, doing whatever you want to do. But it definitely spurred a lot of creative things, you know, for sure. Like this podcast,
Well, think about it.
was started
We did
because of
so
that.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Podcasting. Well, a few things grew within those 2 years was streaming, podcasting, and TikTok. Yes, TikTok was a lot, but also like just the online digital communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, some people don't even meet in. I don't remember before, like
Zoom. Like, did you even know? I didn't even know what Zoom was until nobody used that. Like, did Zoom just like start during the like?
Honestly,
I feel like they didn't, but like they capitalized on it.
Zoom.
Yeah.
I think with any company that you hear, they've
It's
probably
always
been
Zoom
around.
and stuff.
They've probably been around for a while. You just didn't know about it until recently, because that's
So
the only.
everyone had to use it.
It's the only platform that you could use
Yeah.
to get a hold of people. I mean, there's
Like
FaceTime.
Skype or
I
something.
feel like
guess.
Discord grew too a bit. I feel like.
Discord grew.
Discord. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did, like, I was just wondering, like, how did your podcast start? Did it start through those tough years?
Well, like during that time period, we were all just going really hard at our own things. I was making a lot of music and like producing for artists.
Okay.
Gianluca was making like a bunch of films. It's like you see all the posters over there. Like he did pretty much all of
I
those.
made like 3 like short films, like because there was a period of time where like I was in like a rut of like not making anything anymore, because I was like, everything's got to be perfected. It's got to be done like the right way. I got to get actors. I got to get this. But then I just was like, no, back when I was like 15, I was just making things with me and my brother.
Yeah.
And like I just made 3 short films in COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, we were doing so much. He was
I was
doing
just doing like
music.
vlog style, and like me and Nick worked together for fun, like music wise. And then we were like, why not just combine all of our 3 creative minds into like something like a podcast? You know, he's got the camera, Nick knows the audio is part of it. I'm just kind of like the guy who knows how to, I guess, talk
host.
and be a character.
Yeah,
The host.
Yeah.
You're good speaker. You're a good speaker.
So, we just came together. It was tough finding a name at first. We weren't really sure, but then we were like, especially because during COVID, there was this whole opportunity to just capitalize, and like you're saying, like podcasting grew, so we found like a lane for it. And I don't know how we come up on Mastered. It's just like you came
Well,
up
no,
with
he
it
had a
from-
film, like a series that he wanted to release.
Oh yeah, I wanted to do a sitcom of like guys together working in like a content house. It'd be like a comedy a little bit, trying to like make it, and that would be the sitcom. But then we just like And while we were talking about that, we were just talking about like how all we do is talk for 2 hours about creative work. Let's just make a podcast.
Yeah.
That's what
We do it anyways. Yeah.
And honestly, podcasts is probably the biggest thing that happened since 2021. Where when I say that, I mean like it drastically grew. Where now more people are starting to do podcasts because that's just like the trend.
Yeah.
And there's so many, there's a few handful of people that could continue doing a podcast and be consistent with it. Because so many people just like upload an episode once a month or twice a month. But like if you're uploading once a week and you're consistently doing that, like whether it be per seasons or like episodes, it's really a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, we know all that whole process, you know. You got to get the episode scheduled with a guest. If you have guests, it's even harder, I'd say.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, and then you got to film that episode. You got to edit that audio, export it, put it on YouTube. Then you got to make the clips. And it's usually like 10 to 20 clips. Like if you really wanted to like pop off or get some numbers, you got to do a lot of clips. All those clips need individual edits. That takes time. You know, next thing you know, you're spending at least 10 hours on each pod. Like it's crazy. You don't even realize it.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing that most people don't realize is like how much time you put into just the filming is probably the easiest part of any video that you create. It's more so the editing, the short clips, and then the posting of that. And like really putting that on all platforms, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Because TikTok, it's like... If you guys have been on TikTok for a while and you've been creating, I was at a time where I was creating like at least 25 clips a week I would be posting. And this was just all through content I had on my YouTube videos. And I slowed down a bit. Like if you guys check out my TikTok, like I've been really slow with it because one, it's tiring. Two, I don't want to post things just because it makes a trend or gets numbers. I do it because I actually want to post and enjoy it, where people just like hop on the trend of doing like, whether it be dances or funny lyrical background, you know, like the audios and then they copy it. I don't do any of that because I have a creative side to myself where I want to post my best content and not just do it for the trend and get followers off of that, because that's not my true authentic creativity. Right?
Yeah, I remember during COVID, I follow you on TikTok, and I remember, you were posting a lot of clips and stuff like that, just places around Toronto. You said that was your whole thing, right? Because everyone was inside. You wanted to showcase the unique spots of Toronto and all that stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And you were going live often too. I remember joining some of your lives and stuff like that. So fun.
It's funny because a lot of the people, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of the people I met through Instagram or through social media was through TikTok lives. Because you would just be scrolling through TikToks, and the reactions I would get on TikTok lives were absolutely hilarious. Because like I'll be on my For You page, right? And I'm just swiping through lives. And I there's just specific people that you see that you could tell, okay, whether or not they follow a specific group or a genre of content. So whenever I comment on a random, like just for random guys, TikTok, right? This guy, I remember this guy was from like Saskatchewan. Him and his friends were like freaking out, like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit, no fucking way. Right? And I give like a few, like maybe half a minute to like 60 seconds just for them to kind of sink it in. And then I reply back, like, no fucking way this guy is here.
No way, it's Nino.
No, he was a straight Canadian guy from Saskatchewan. He's not even British, no. And like the reactions is, it actually like it gives you like a human connection with people who are just regular 9-to-5 people who are students or work like a full-time job, and it's like you get to connect with people and have a genuine reaction where like they get excited to meet somebody that they probably have never thought of meeting or interacting with, right? And that's the power of social media, where you could interact, even if you don't get to meet them in person. The fact that you're able to interact with them, whether it be on TikTok or on any social platform, it kind of like tells you that, okay, anything can be possible with just meeting another person, and not on like whatever like career they do, whether athlete or artist, but like as a human. Right? And that's like, I think that's a lot of people forget about when you have a social status or a label, they forget that you're a human.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think live streaming is like a good thing to connect with an audience like that, because you're actually like interacting them with live. It's not just like a typing comment back or something like that, right?
No.
You don't think so?
Oh, sorry. No, I say no. That's
saying
true.
no
Oh, okay, yeah,
No, like I like typing back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah. Like it's so much different when like you're able to interact with
No,
somebody.
like I mean, we go live now. Like we've been doing it,
yeah.
and like that's like where we get like the best interactions with like people, and they join back every live. You know what I mean? They keep coming. It's way different than people just commenting, scrolling by.
Yeah.
You know, these people like genuinely like think we're like cool to like watch on live. Like it's crazy to me. Like I'm not that big into streaming. I know you are.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Yeah, I can't just sit there and like watch them. Like it's crazy. I don't know.
I can't be on TikTok for more than maybe like half an hour.
Yeah.
Like I would just look at people who like I follow and post what they post.
Yeah.
And that's it. I check my notifications, get rid of it, and then move on.
Well, I think like once you get to like this point of like I'm gonna be a creator on this and I'm gonna go hard on that. Like I remember when I was posting like a bunch, I wouldn't even look at like the content like of other people anymore.
No.
Like it would just fully just be okay. I'm gonna post this now. I'll be back in like tomorrow to post again.
Yeah.
You're just
I
in
just
and
let it
out
do
kind of
that.
thing.
Yeah.
You just post it and you're done.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed though that I don't know if it's because of the culture that you surround yourself with in your cities or in the GTA, for example. Like when you interact with other people from different cities or different countries, you have a better connection with them for some reason, because one, they're new to you, but two, they have a different culture that they are surrounded with, where they interact with you differently, that you like more than the people around you, because you're so used to like the toxic culture and how people interact with you and how like they treat you differently, whether you have like 10,000 followers or if you have like a few hundred, right?
Yeah.
And in Toronto specifically, like people really do treat you differently. And that's sad when I see that we're all human. And because of a social status, you're not welcomed in that group of social like groups. And people like exclude you because you're not a creator, you don't have money, you don't have cars like other people do, and they don't flex and all that shit. And it's just so annoying to see, because that's what I think a part of it has to do with like the culture, social media, and also music.
Yeah. Why would you say the music has to do with
Music, specifically hip hop, the hip hop community. Like, I'm not saying every single person, but there are a few artists out there that give influence to these young, impressionable people to where they think violence or shooting people at a club is like the way to solve things. Like, you don't need a gun to verbally de-escalate a situation.
Yeah,
do you remember what happened last summer? So there was two instances, one at EFS where a guy walked in with a gun. He shot 3 people inside the club, and then EFS closed because they got their license taken away after that incident. And then about 2 weeks later, Daisy on Queen Street had the same thing where a guy walks in with a gun, shoots 2 or 3 people, I believe, and then same thing. Like, and it was just like repetitive, like random violence where like even last winter, 8 girls between the ages of 14 and 16 beat a homeless man to death and stabbed him on King and University.
I remember that one.
I haven't heard of these things.
And the whole story is skewed about what happened and whether it was the homeless man who instigated or it was them who instigated it. And then I remembered someone was saying how I think the group of girls premeditated it, where they were saying it on a video, I believe. Like, don't quote me on this, but they were ensuing that they were basically they're saying that they were instigated. They want to instigate a fight or they want to kill somebody.
Yeah, let's go do something. You know?
Yeah. And it's just like you ruined your
What
life.
even is that?
messed
That's
up.
like
And
a
then,
weird.
and then even
like,
more recently, like the whole TTC thing. Remember
Yes,
that?
there's a
that was
bunch going on in
like,
Yeah. Like 70% of TTC riders are now scared to ride the TTC.
Yeah,
because-
I've been hearing about that. A lot of
Yeah.
like stabbings and like fucking BB guns and shit, like or something like that.
It's random, but
Random, like it's
yeah.
so weird. Like,
yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't like to get so much into the whole political thing, but it's just like, how do you solve that? That's the main question. How do you solve an issue when it's so much more than just the specific issue of it, right?
Yeah.
It's a systemic thing. It's like a whole culture that needs to be shifted in a way.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe COVID could also have an impact like that. Like
Yes.
you were saying, like the mental health, right?
Yeah. It really makes people, like after COVID, once people started like really partying and going out more, it just like, for some reason, something in their brain like switched where they thought like doing the most dumbest things was actually the best things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like, it's like a revenge kind of. It's like a form of like, oh, you put me in my house for like 2 years. Now I'm going to like fuck society over.
Yeah.
I think it's something like that.
There was so many
like
instances where people would just, after COVID, especially like Canada and the US and all over the world actually, where people just became like delusional and they did things out of the ordinary that just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So many cases like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think even a little bit like a lot of creatives, that can be said too, though. Like people who would have never done certain things, they did things they would have never done because they saw themselves from a different light, just like being so introspective, like being in that house all that time. You see yourself from a different lens. You're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Back to the podcast thing, we started that. But like even just like the way people do things has just like done a 180, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like so many people have just like their careers have either took a total 180 or just like the way they're doing it is just changed. I've just noticed that.
It also starts with yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, personally, I took the time to really self-reflect and change a lot of things about my life and what I do, how I feel, and who I surround myself with. That really changed how I go out after this whole COVID thing, because most people, like, they probably just lived the same life throughout the entire time where they didn't self-reflect or they didn't take the time to really grow as a person, and rather they lowered themselves from what they already started, but going into the whole 2 years of that time, and then going out into the world, they just think the same way. Right? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychologist or anything. I just, the perspective of people unable to change starts from you.
Right. It all starts with you at the end of the day. You got to make the choice to choose to do a new habit or to pursue something else, right?
Yeah.
And if you're the one that's, falling back, it's you to blame. You got to take accountability, right?
Yeah. Like, what habits or hobbies have you picked up since then?
Yeah, the pod, but then also like music, making beats and stuff like that. I produced an album for an artist, so that was cool. We did like a show and stuff, which was dope. But yeah, mostly just the pod and the music, kind of like a little bit of both.
Yeah,
What were you guys?
I learned a bit more about, like, I guess, basic editing, like by doing like vlogs. Like, I obviously cut things apart, like do some transitions, this and that, and then like obviously a little bit more of the marketing side of social media, like how to promote things and like certain hashtags to do, like following, knowing that algorithms are always changing and stuff like that. Like learning that side of it as well, the back end of stuff. And
yeah, man, we did so much. Like if we're talking about from COVID, like I learned. I made some more short films. I'm writing a feature that I've been working on for like a couple of years now. We learned how to make clothing like at home, like heat press clothing. We did that for a bit. Started like I even had my own podcast that lasted like 3 episodes.
You had like 2 podcasts.
I did 2 podcasts.
3 maybe.
I was vlogging a little bit, and like I go back now and look at those vlogs. It's kind of insane a little bit.
What do you use to edit?
Well, I was just doing basic iMovie for now.
Oh, yeah.
But then he has Premiere Pro, so like he hasn't really taught me a lot. But then now I've sort of started to use it now to help make clips for the pod as well. But
are you a Premiere editor?
No, I'm a Final Cut Pro.
Cut, eh?
I mean, hey, don't judge what you use. It's how you edit.
Yes, it is true.
Right.
I agree.
The only reason why I went with Final Cut was because I learned from the beginning.
Right.
It was probably 4 years ago now where I started to learn editing through Final Cut Pro. And then there was a time where I was editing with Kyle and it was Premiere Pro. And I just said to myself,
no,
it's just much more technical and more like confusing for me to edit. With Final Cut, it's just literally cut, paste, edit, everything else in between. With Premiere Pro, from what I remember, it's more using a lot of functions.
It is, yeah. Yeah,
Right?
Final Cut's very user friendly because it's an Apple product. So
Yeah,
like
well,
it's gonna be very user friendly.
I mean,
of course.
if you have an
But
iPhone,
it's good. I've used it.
Yeah.
I just used Premiere because I started in high school with Premiere.
Yeah.
So like I carried on with that.
Yeah.
But
What about DaVinci, though?
Oh yeah.
DaVinci, I heard, is really good.
Everyone's going to
Well, you know who promoted it the most was Sam Colder. He's the one that really like made a whole 20-minute video and just explained. I actually watched it, and he's like explaining the differences between Final Cut, Adobe Pro Premiere, and then DaVinci with the color editing and like I think it was the storage. I think it's with that and how slow
it's
it
very
is.
streamlined DaVinci. It's like because I used it a little bit now.
Yeah,
I have it. I haven't fully went into it, but like it doesn't like Premiere crashes.
Yes,
so much.
Same with Final Cut.
And like DaVinci, like when I was on it, like I've talked to people who use it, and they're like, "Yeah, it never crashes for me." And I'm like, "That's insane."
Yeah, it's because like I would assume it's a newer company or newer software where they learned the little mistakes that Final Cut and Premiere have done in the past. Right. And that's the thing with newer companies now. Every time there's a newer company, they always look at the mistakes and the little tweaks that they can make to make that product much better than the last competitive product. Let's say Uber to taxis or Lyft and Uber, right? And then you have, what's it called? Delivery. For example, like Amazon, right? Instead of having to pick it up at a store or go to a post office and having to do all of that, you get it all delivered to your house within a day or two with Prime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's just a very like good skill to have nowadays, especially is editing things. Because there's lots of companies now who want to do the social media marketing now for their stuff, so they're hiring people $100,000 a year, make fucking 20 clips for me a month or whatever the amount is, right? Like, there's definitely a market for it now.
Yeah,
we have people hitting us up like, "Oh, your clips could be a little bit better. We'll do like 3 for free just to see how it is, whatever." And especially they're making it a lot easier now because of the app CapCut that you can just download on your iPhone. A lot of kids too, like our cousin's like 10 years old and he's making like soccer clips on like CapCut, and like you can do the whole like captions and all that, so it's pretty innovating.
You know what, a suggestion, I guess, you just because you brought that up, if you want to find an editor, instead of like them editing it and posting it, just have them edit the clips. Like just send them like a full clip of like a 5-minute segment and make them cut it up into like a 30 to a minute and see how they do. And then tell them to do the next one. And if you like their style and you want to progress with them, then let them start editing it and see how that goes. Instead of going from different editors and asking different people to cut the same video. Or you could do that too. You could get like, I think what we did one time to find an editor, which we found Austin, was we asked people to submit their work to an email. And then every email is a different person, and we just open it up, look through the footage, look through the editing, the style that they had, and then we would send Austin one video, and then he would edit the entire video and then send it back to us. But we liked it. We obviously liked it, but we had to look at different options of people, and he was ultimately the guy that Kyle specifically chose to do the edit, and he's been working with them now for 4 years now. So actually 5 years, 5 years. So it's been a long time. I forget it's 2023 now, right? And like, that's the thing. Like, if you really want to find an editor, it makes your lives much easier in terms of not worrying about the editing. You guys just film it, send him or her, could be a her now, to the clips, and then edit for you guys.
There you go. Yeah, and then especially I've seen clips of like people talking about like how AI is developing a thing now where you give it into the AI bot 20-minute clip, say clip 5 things, and it'll do it for you, which is insane to me. Like, and if that eventually upgrades to like a level where like it's actual like now obviously it might be a little bit rough. We never tried it, but I mean eventually it could get to a level where it's just like you're paying an editor to do it. Like, it's insane.
What are your thoughts on the AI stuff? Are you familiar with any of it?
No, I've heard of it.
Yeah,
just never got myself into researching AI because, I mean, obviously it's the future. You know, when the time comes, I'm not worried about it now.
It kind of like stresses me out a little bit because I feel like there'll be a point where AI can like do everything someone can do. you know, as a creative, like as a producer, it sort of like deters me from making music a little bit, because I feel like one day someone's just going to be able to like say I want this sort of style of beat or whatever and just like make it in like seconds. And it's like, why am I putting so much effort into something that like might literally like go extinct as a thing to do?
I think as a creator, as an artist, I think maybe you probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't compare myself to an AI, because AIs are more advanced. The human aspect, the human element of it is working on a craft. No matter how long it takes, whether it's editing a video or editing a podcast, as long as you've done the work and you're proud of what you created and not having an AI do it for you, it feels more rewarding as a creator, as an artist, to do that instead of having someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
Right? For me, I edit all my videos. I film it, edit, produce, and upload all of my content. I had nobody do any of that content for me. I uploaded, like I said, like I uploaded like 5, sometimes 3 to 5 TikTok videos a day. Literally all scheduled, all drafted. I had Instagram clips from podcast, and then all my YouTube shorts and all my YouTube videos, all repurposed for portrait style videos, right? And it takes a lot of time and dedication to do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like half of the work we do. It's just like making clips out of things. Like it's crazy stuff. Yeah.
And like I think you were mentioning about how you wanted to do vlogs of like your podcast. Yeah. You could do that.
We want to get into that as well. We obviously did like interview style stuff, I guess, like with the Rink of Dreams, and like we went to the Hocos. They might be going again for March St. Patty's.
You know what? Okay. I was actually gonna ask you about those because that's hilarious you're mentioning, because I follow Canadian Party Life as well, and they were mentioning about St. Patty's Day this next weekend, 17th and 18th, and they had a whole bunch of lists of universities, and I say that like my top 5 in Ontario is this is gonna be controversial. If you're talking pre-COVID, I'm talking Western, Mac, Guelph, Queens, and Guelph. Did I say
you said Guelph already.
Okay. Western, Mac, Guelph, Queens, and probably Brock. I'll throw Brock in there.
No love for Laurier, eh?
Interesting.
You know what? I've never been to a Laurier, but I've heard so much, because that's like the most infamous spot for St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
I will throw Laurier, I'll throw Laurier as a notable party school that I've never been to yet. That's the one school that I've never experienced to say that it's in my top 5. All the other schools I have been to. And so my question to you guys, because I've seen a couple of your Hoco clips. It's a 2-part question. What got you the inspiration to do homecoming videos? And out of Guelph, Mac, and Queens, what was your favorite school to film at?
Okay, well...
All right, who's answering it?
All of you guys.
Well, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there, so it was mostly just a question for us.
Yeah.
What got you into?
Okay, well, like, I mean, we were just like, these parties are coming up. Like, are we gonna go? Like, I've never been. He's been. So this was like my first time going, and we're like, okay, let's just film it. Let's do it. Like, everyone does these Hoco videos. We might as well. We're making extra content. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So that's why we did it. You know. So
I think it was a little bit.
It was kind of like a rough idea. We were just like, let's go. I don't know what we're gonna do. I bought the Rode Wireless. We're gonna. Let's
it was just really quick. Like, let's just go and do it. Like,
we
didn't even think about it. We're like, let's just do it.
Yeah,
why not?
And then you're just because you've seen it all on Instagram,
I mean,
and
you know, tons of people have done those kind of videos.
I think the most notable is probably Jack Denmo.
Yeah,
like he's like the one that I think of. I used to watch him in like first year. I remember watching like all those ones. And then
wait, how old are you?
I am 21.
Turning 19 tomorrow. My birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I'm 22.
Okay, so you're older. So the second part, what was your favorite school that you filmed at?
Oh, it's a collective agreement on Guelph.
Guelph,
sure.
Yeah, Guelph is the best uni for parties. For street
really?
Parties. Yeah.
I have to beg to differ.
You think it's Western?
You know what?
Western's pretty sick. It's too dangerous or something.
No.
Like I feel like I'm gonna get hit with like a tree or something.
No.
Like someone pulls it out of the ground, is gonna throw it at me or some shit.
There's different perspectives of how you look at each different party scene.
Yeah.
You have Laurier, who's known for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, the Ezra Street. Yeah.
Azra, yes. Then you have Queens and Western competing against each other. So that it's kind of like they kind of cancel each other out because they're both good schools and they both competing with each other. But I would pick Western over Queens, to be honest.
Why would you do that?
Me too, and I haven't even been to Western.
Really?
Well, we went.
This guy got a fucking
I got a fine
500
in Kingston when we were there.
Oh,
for
no.
doing nothing. So that's
Okay,
nice.
so the reason why I did 2 videos in 2021 where I went to Queens and I went to Mac by myself and I filmed the whole thing, majority of it. I had a different perspective with Queens because there was a handful of people I liked, but there was a lot of people I just didn't like.
They got a weird attitude
Yeah, no,
there.
they were like
yeah.
weird people. Like, like more, they were rude a little.
They're rude.
bit,
They're like
you know?
snobby.
Entitled.
Yeah, that's the word.
Right?
That's the
and
word.
I'll give you, if you ever guys watched my video on the Queen's Homecoming, it was a few things. One, people were trying to steal my camera.
Oh,
Two,
he
some
also-
girl tried to steal, like she took my beanie and I said, why would you do that? And she was laughing with like, and I have it on camera, by the way. There was 3 other guys with her, 4 guys actually, and 1 girl, okay? She took a beanie and I grabbed it back and I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, why would you do that? And there's like, it's just a joke, bro. I'm like, first of all, I'm not
Queens, right?
This is Queens. First of all, I'm not your bro. And I just met you. And I was like, how would you feel if somebody just took your phone? Because it was really on her like pants. She was wearing leggings and she was like stuck in between. How would you feel if someone took your phone? She's like, well, that's not the, like, we're not talking about my phone. I'm like, you didn't answer my question. Like, how would you feel? And I said, obviously, you would be mad if someone took your phone. Anything that belongs to you, you would feel like it's an invasion of privacy, right? And so those was a few instances. People just didn't respect your personal space. With Mac, complete opposite. Every single person, and I mean every single person, treated me with respect. They were courteous. They were kind. They gave me my personal space when I needed it. They didn't they weren't intrusive. And they were so chill there. Queens was just a different vibe.
I feel that. I feel
right?
that. Yeah.
And with Western, I know Western has declined during COVID times. After COVID, they declined. But because you brought up Jack Denmo, shout out to Jack Denmo.
Yeah.
We did a video at Queens Homecoming 2019, right before COVID. The absolute insane homecoming we've ever been to. Like
Why?
when I say Broughdale was completely filled with people, like you're at a rave concert, there was no space to move on that street. From the street to the sidewalks to the people's like front doors, there was like at least 5,000 people on that street, all congested, right? And Mac is just a different vibe. Guelph is fun. On Chancellor's is such a good vibe, and it's much bigger than Broughdale.
That's why I like it. It's like it's a meant street. Like there's a street that's like closed off.
Bigger than Broughdale, bigger than Daleward, bigger than Ezra, not Azra. It's Ezra, and it's bigger than what's the other street? I forget the street on Queen Street. On Queen's University. I forget the street that they go to. Okay, I can't forget.
I don't remember.
I don't remember too.
We were only there for
Aberdeen. Aberdeen. Yeah.
Aberdeen.
Yes.
Aberdeen. Taking someone
No,
like
man, Queens. We got a beer thrown at us while we're interviewing someone, and it was the girl that we just interviewed.
Yes.
She smacked our camera. It's on the video. Like she smacked
punched
it. I'm like, what
it,
the? Nick got like so mad. He was the one holding it at that point. I'm like, what the hell? Like I didn't even really see it happen. But like
that's what I mean by the Wild West. It's
that's like $4,000 you got right there. You're smacking it. Like, the guys are like, no, it's okay.
So because you guys could put Queens at the bottom tier, right?
I thought it was going to be the best, dude. When we got there that day, it just seemed like it was like a dope vibe. Like it was great weather. There's tons of people, a lot of hot girls. And we're like, dude, this is like unreal, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, like we're getting beer bottles thrown. It just progressively got worse.
But I think from my experience, it was because it was also raining. When I went, it was raining, but shout out to those people. I still have it on camera. I still remember those people. Shout out to them because they made that experience so much more better when it was off of the main street party. When it was like on the side streets with like the local like small house parties, they were so welcoming. They would chill. Those are the people that I respect more, just because they really made the time better than the negatives. And that's what like a lot of people remember more is the negatives. A lot of times people forget the people that made your experiences much more worth it. Going to Kingston or going to London. You should definitely go to London, but I will warn you though, the experience of London has slowly decreased since COVID began. Whereas Laurier has taken over, you had Mac taken over, and then even like Guelph too. Guelph Trappers Alley.
Oh yeah, I was just there a couple of days ago. Dude.
No way for Dollar Thursdays.
Yeah, Dollar Thursdays.
Yo, I straight up, I haven't told this on camera before, but like I remembered me and my buddies at the time, we would go to Mondays and Thursdays. Sometimes we would go twice a week. Sometimes we would alternate between Mondays and Thursdays, and and it would, every single time I went to Trappers Alley, I would see at least one fight happening, and it was right in front of me.
Really?
And I'm talking like straight up fists were thrown, security getting involved.
Yeah, you did.
What are you talking about?
There was a fight.
You just had a fight. It was on video, dude.
You got into
yeah.
you got into a fight?
No, I didn't get into one. It was outside of it. It was outside of it.
Yeah, but it's always outside though.
Yeah.
And wait, this was right before the snowstorm, so you got lucky.
Yeah.
Those, I remember I saw a video of people lining up in a snowstorm yesterday during the right before the Friday.
That was a crazy storm.
Right before the Friday. Was
oh my God, people were still going to the clubs
today's
downtown,
Sunday.
too.
I forgot today is Sunday.
Sunday,
This was on the Friday evening during the snowstorm, going into the overnight. People are lining up. I'm like,
People are dedicated, man.
people are dedicated, but I'll be honest, people are kind of stupid.
Very.
Because if now that I'm older, I'm not 23 no more, I would not be waiting in line for an hour to get into a club and then be surrounded with a bunch of drunk idiots already in there. Like, no. I'm not going to Trappers Alley on a Thursday night.
You're past that. Are you past that time?
I'm completely
Are you
past.
past like clubbing in general?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. I am completely past I've retired from homecomings.
Oh,
I say it on camera. I've retired from homecomings. You would never see me at another homecoming.
But you
ever
said you didn't
again.
go to Laurier, bro. You got to come with us on the 17th.
Cannot.
Oh, no.
I kept a promise. I am retiring from homecomings. You would never see me at a homecoming street party. I've retired from the bars at universities, Trappers Alley, Frog, or now they call it something else. You would not see me at Stages Kingston. You won't see me at I think Pepper Clothes.
What about the Seeps in
Seeps?
Weston?
Nope.
No,
You would not
not
see me.
there.
You would not see me at Level.
I don't even know that one.
That's in St. Catharines.
Okay, won't see him there.
You won't see me nowhere.
What about the Maddie? You go to the Maddie ever?
in Toronto.
The Madison in Toronto. You ever been?
No. Okay, and clubbing, speaking of clubs, I would not go to Rebel, not going to Lavelle, not going to 44, not going to Hotel X, not going to Grace O'Malley's, not
Live.
going. Nope.
You ever been to Live?
No.
Really?
Never will go there. Won't go to any of that. Oh, Regulars closed down. Never will go to Regulars. Love Child closed.
What about Toy Box? You go to
Toy Box, that honestly,
Oh, that
You'll
was-
go.
shout out. No. Shout out to Toy Box, because Toy Box really took care of me the times I went there. Still not going though. No. Like, no, I would say though, the most funnest, I don't know, the most fun experiences I've ever had in Toronto at a club was Toy Box.
Toy Box is pretty sick. They
Toy
got like
Box.
the fucking
I agree
smoke
a
and they got
little
the
bit. I
teddy
agree a
bear and shit. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Funny enough, it used to be called Union. I think it was called Union before, and then they shut down and they rebranded to Toy Box. And then you have Petty Cash right across the
Oh
street.
yeah, Petty Cash. Yeah.
Yeah, Petty Cash is dope. And then the whole King and Portland, King and Bathurst area, absolutely, you would not see me chilling there ever again.
He's done.
No. What was it? What's the corner one on King and Portland? The red one.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose, never. No. Forget Ruby Rose Marble. Oh my gosh.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah,
So,
locals only. No.
guys, every club in Toronto, Ontario, anywhere in the local area, guys, Nino will not be coming there. Just
I
so
think
you
you're
guys
just doing
know.
this so they call you out saying, "We'll give you a free
give you a
booth,
free
come
thing,
on."
come
And you
on.
then you go
Okay.
on everyone, huh?
The only exception
Is if they give you free shit.
Nope. The only exception I would ever be out in Toronto at nighttime is if it's with family. If they're visiting,
Yeah.
they want to experience it. I did that last summer after a wedding, my cousin's wedding, and a lot of them were visiting. Went out one time, and that was the last time I went out to a club. But that's only the exception. When it comes to like going out for fun, when I say I'm not going to a club or a bar, definitely not a club, but a bar. I would not go out on a Saturday or Friday night on King Street at 11 o'clock p.m. I'd rather be sleeping or like I'd rather be sleeping than being in Toronto at King and Portland. I'll tell you that.
Hey, I could definitely see me getting
So
there.
do you
want to
talk about that?
Yeah. Wait, what
That
caused
whole,
this? Like,
the transition
mean,
of not doing it anymore.
You know how much he's probably done?
Well,
It's
yeah.
like,
Well, you
I
were
mean,
you
you
were a
have-
part of the
yeah.
Milk Boys
Yeah.
for how many
So, I
years were
mean,
you a part?
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years. So you guys did your fair share.
you
of
done your
partying.
dues.
Yeah, I mean, even before I joined, I was probably like a few months. I went to Queen's homecoming. No, I went to Mac and Guelph homecoming my first year. Literally, my first month, I went to Queen's homecoming. No, Mac homecoming. Sorry, and then I even after that, I'm like, no, I'm never doing this because like I've been to too many clubs. I've spent too many weekends, too many days, too many nights not sleeping well.
Yeah.
Staying up till 4 a.m. I used to call 3 a.m. After 3 a.m., I would call it bullshit hours because it's like,
Yeah.
if you're in a frat boy mentality, if it's 3 a.m., you're not with a woman. If you're into the whole hookup culture, okay, hypothetically, if you're not with a woman, if you're not having a good time, if you don't enjoy the people that you're with, I'd rather just be sleeping.
Yeah, go to bed.
Because if at that time when you're drunk or you're high or whatever, and you're chasing for something to happen when it's not there, you're just wasting your night.
Yeah.
And I remembered I would see people stay up to like 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 7 a.m. Just
Holy.
literally doing nothing but talking, drinking, playing Pong, and like having real talks. Okay.
Real talk.
Real talks. But you know what? Real talks though is there's scenarios where it's actually appropriate to have real
Right,
talks. Okay.
right.
But I would never see myself staying up for almost 24 hours, literally just being drunk and high or doing nothing again. Right. I enjoy my sleep. I love my sleep. And I would not ever take sleep for granted ever again.
Yeah.
Sleep is hella underrated. It's
Yeah.
like if you don't have good sleep, your day is pretty much guaranteed to kind of like suck in some way.
Yeah. There was a guy on, I don't know if you guys know who Stephen Bartlett is. He's a podcaster in the UK. He's an entrepreneur.
I think I've seen that video.
He's a
Is it the Joe Rogan one?
no.
I think I know what you're talking about. I know
But
what
real
you're talking
quick though, he was talking on a podcast and he was saying health is the most important thing because you could have everything else like family, friends, spouse, right? Those are like those come and go, but your health is the most important because without your health, you can't do work, you can't walk, you die basically. And you're saying health is wealth. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I
That is
mean,
important.
again, like I'm just turning 19, so like this is my time, I guess, like where I can actually like go to a bar and stuff. But I just don't seem that interested though. Like these guys have gone a couple times. Like, do you guys see a point where like you guys might be like, oh yeah, fuck this?
Oh, there's
Like,
definitely been points where I'll take like a good couple months where I'm just like, I don't want to go to a place until someone invites me.
Yeah.
Like I think that's sort of where I am right now. Like I'm pretty much only going out if someone's inviting me to go out.
Yeah.
I'm typically not like seeking it as much.
Yeah.
Which has sort of been the change a little bit. Even though me and Gianluca will still go out like together sometimes if we're like okay, we're bored or whatever.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, it's mostly
bored.
like you're getting invited, right? But yeah.
Like if it's a birthday or
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
celebration, like a holiday, like that's an exception. But like I'm not going out of my way to do that anymore.
Yeah, you're the second person that has said that. Like we even talked to Anthony Sorella from Money Buys Happiness. They had their whole club phase, and he's like, fuck that, bro. Like,
Yo,
I'm
shout
not-
out to Anthony Sorella. I love that
shout
guy.
out to Anthony,
Yeah, I know. Like and then you had Aiden Dale too as your guest. Yeah, I love those guys, man.